a minute a day, if you can't even give yourself an hour, or take a day out of the month to go and be in nature or be somewhere peaceful to just contemplate, who am I? Who am I? Where am I? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do with my life? And really start asking yourself these big questions that oftentimes we never ask ourselves. We never have time. We never allow ourselves time or give ourselves time to ask these questions. And then I feel like once you have the silence and the stillness, maybe you journal and things start to come to you, then you can start taking next steps around, okay, what do I do next? What's the first step, right? What's the first maneuver that I can take that's moving me closer to my truest self, my happiest self, my most loving, my most fulfilled self?
Today's guest is Shani Pride, a writer, director, actor, speaker, and creative consultant with over 20 years of experience in the entertainment industry. She has worked with major studios like CBS, HBO, Showtime, and Warner Brothers. Starred in hit TV shows such as CSI Miami, Weeds, and American Horror Story, and starred in award-winning independent films. Shani is a visionary storyteller dedicated to shaping narratives that change, inspire, and transform. Welcome, Shani.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anita.
Wow, I'm excited to learn so much about you. What an introduction.
What an introduction. Thank you so much. It's been lovely getting to know you and really excited about this conversation.
That's brilliant. Thank you. So, with that said, what is one of the most courageous things that you have done?
It's such a great question, Anita. It really is. And I believe that my most courageous thing has been becoming an artist. And what I mean by that is being an artist is one of the most difficult rows to toe. It is very challenging and requires a lot of discipline and pick yourself up and try again. And it's been a long sort of 25-year road, but I would not want to be or do anything else. But it did absolutely take a lot of courage to step into the path of an artist and mostly to remain in the path of an artist.
Wow. I can imagine, or at least I can envisage to imagine. I mean, you've done some, wow, what I would call courageous things in your film industry. I mean, like, who doesn't know CSI Miami and things like that? You've been in some films.
Thank you. Yes, I've been in it for a while, and yeah, it takes a lot of fortitude.
Mm.
But I'm very grateful for the path. Very, very grateful. And the evolution as well. As you know, I'm now writing and directing film and television. So, sort of starting in front of the camera and now have evolved to behind the camera, which
Mm.
is really just equally as much of a passion and purpose of mine. So, yeah.
Wow. So, what do you believe is the biggest obstacle stopping people from unlocking their true potential?
I would say the biggest obstacle for someone to unlock their true purpose and potential in life is themselves and their environment. And
Mm.
oftentimes we can't control our environment. And there are certain environments that are extremely volatile and chaotic and toxic. And let's just put that sort of to the side because I'm very sensitive to not everyone is in an environment that's conducive to really sort of move forward with their life. And they're in a season or time where things are very challenging, maybe a war or something of that nature.
Mhm.
But if you're in an environment where you can sort of move things around or change the dynamics of your environment, this is advantageous to really finding yourself, finding your purpose, and really moving into your fullest potential. So, for example, if you have a group of friends or you have a job or you have a social environment where it's negative, it's not advancing you, it's not challenging you, it's not inspiring you, then remove yourself from that. And so that you can thrive and you can be inspired and challenged and push towards growth, essentially.
Yes, and I have to agree with that. We're surprised how much we play small when we want to be with the people around us that we think, we should be amongst, and really, they do limit us.
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
absolutely. More than we realize. Like that saying, you're the sum of the six people you spend the most time with. And that is a very true fact. It really is.
Yes, absolutely. So, how can creativity be used as a tool to break through limitations and reimagine what's possible?
Yes, creativity, as one would imagine, is my passion. I love
Mm.
creativity. And when I speak about creativity, it is not to say that you need to be an artist yourself or be a creative in the traditional sense, because I feel like everyone is creative, everyone's an artist, everyone has that inside of them. Some are more tapped into it than others. But the
Hmm.
beauty of this creativity that lives in all of us is that it can be used as a tool for transformation. For example, if you're
Mm.
going through a very difficult time or you're feeling uninspired or in a rut or sort of in this cycle that you're trying to break out of, you can use creativity. You can start journaling to really sort of visualize or reimagine your situation. You can release things that might be within you that are holding you back,
Mm.
limiting beliefs, etc. You can go to a museum or a play and get inspired by others, get inspired by the beauty and the symbolism and the themes of art that could potentially be around you. But I feel like oftentimes when we're in an environment or in a cycle of things that aren't allowing us to think differently, creativity is the perfect way to move yourself out of that and start to see things a little bit differently so that you can sort of move on from there.
Absolutely. And I like the fact you've given so many examples because it's just seeing things from a different perspective, even perhaps.
Yes, exactly. Because
Mm.
sometimes we need to just change our point of view. Like, I
Hmm.
love this saying, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's it. If you change the way you look
Absolutely.
at things, the things you look at change. And so, creativity is a way to change the way you look at things, change the
Hmm.
way you look at life, reimagine things, think outside of the box, basically.
Absolutely. And there's so much more. I mean, if we could sometimes just slow down and be present,
Yes.
that's a major thing, I feel.
Major, major, major.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love meditation for that
Hmm.
reason. And
Mm.
I feel like meditation is also a very creative, for me at least, it is a very creative thing. When I meditate, I often will have mantras,
Mm.
or I just kind of sit and I'm with my thoughts, I visualize. So, yeah, stillness is such a beautiful part of finding your purpose and finding your path in life.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel sometimes for me personally, instead of trying to work out something, just allow it to be, it'll come in its own time. Just give it
Yeah.
some time. Don't do anything sometimes is the best way.
I could not agree more. It's so funny, Anita, because sometimes when we're like trying to find a solution, we're like putting all this energy and effort and putting it,
Yes.
and oftentimes it's when you just stop
Mm.
and you pause and you just give space for the answer to come to you. That's when the genius occurs. That's when things start to flow and ideas start to flow 100%.
Absolutely. So that kind of nicely goes on for my next question. For someone who feels lost or unsure about their path, what the first step to discovering their passion and purpose?
Yes, I feel like the first step might be stillness to sort
Mm,
of piggyback on what we're talking about here is first you need to pause and give yourself a moment to breathe because we live in a world that is so chaotic between social media and the news and our daily grinds and everything we have to do, our to-do list. We don't even have room in our lives to just figure out our path and purpose in life.
mhm,
And if you can just give yourself a moment, even if it's an hour a day or a minute a day, if you can't even give yourself an hour, or take a day out of the month to go
mhm,
and be in nature or be somewhere peaceful to just contemplate, who am I? You know, who am I? Where am I? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do with my life? And really start asking yourself these big questions that oftentimes we never ask ourselves. We never have time. We never allow ourselves time or give ourselves time to ask these questions. And then I feel like once you have the silence and the stillness, maybe you journal and things start to come to you, then you can start taking next steps
mhm.
around, okay, what do I do next? What's the first step, right? What's the first maneuver that I can take that's moving me closer to my truest self, my happiest self, my most loving, my most fulfilled self?
And it's so true. When we want things to come to us, we try and try more and more. We get more and more busy. It's
Mhm.
really a case of slowing down, just allow it to be.
Yes.
You know, that whole saying is the more you force it, it's not going to happen.
Exactly. It's so true. And I feel like, sort
Mm,
of to the theme of our conversation, it takes courage to slow down because
mm,
oftentimes people are distracting themselves by being busy, 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 busy. Because
yes.
the moment you stop, everything starts to realize, right? You start to think about the things that are making you unhappy or that are challenging you. And in order to evolve those things and grow those things and shift those things, you have to first acknowledge those things. And you can only do that if you stop running around like a chicken with your head cut off and actually stop and sit and breathe and take it in.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, like, it's a case of being present, like we're saying, being present to what you're doing.
Yes.
And like you just said, you're so busy, you don't realize actually it's a case of, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. I think this day and age in life, people almost wear it as a badge of honor that, oh, I've got through so much, I've had so much less sleep.
Yes.
And it's really not about all of that. It's coming back to, who are you being in it all again?
Absolutely. It's
Mm,
so true. Like
mm,
we're very work driven, particularly here in
mhm,
the United States. It's like work, 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 work. I'll sleep when I die. And like, no, like, no, no, no. We need our sleep.
mhm,
And our sleep is actually what's keeping us healthy, keeping us
mhm.
vibrant, keeping us focused. So I could not agree with you more. It is not a badge of honor to just be stressed out all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited for this next question. With all your experience in entertainment, media, and storytelling, what are some of the most powerful lessons you've learned along your way? And I'm sure there's many.
Yes, there are many, many. Wow. I think to stay in the theme of what we've been discussing here, what some of the most powerful lessons I've learned along my journey, particularly in the creative entertainment
Hmm.
industry space, has been patience. Oh my goodness,
Mm.
patience is key. I cannot stress that enough. You think something's going to take a year and it takes 10 years, right?
Oh.
And in particular, if you want to do it the right way, if
Mhm.
you want to do it with integrity, if you want to do it with your soul intact, if you want to do it in a way that will feel satisfying and fulfilling for you. So, it takes time. Like Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. And it's very, very true. I've had to really learn the art of patience and practice the art of patience and find comfort in that.
Mm.
Find beauty in the process and not always be focused on the outcome, but be focused on the journey. One of the best quotes that I love is actually from Simon Cowell, and I know that's a little random, but he said that the best years of his life were not when American Idol became super successful. It was the years building American
Mm.
Idol. And that really stuck with me because we always think it's better on the other side. Like once we arrive, that's when we're
Mm.
going to be happy and fulfilled and rich and famous or whatever. And I think it's actually the opposite. I think it's the journey and the process that you really, truly appreciate along the way. And then once whatever X, Y, and Z is fulfilled,
Mm.
that's like the cherry on top. But our lives are a journey. Our lives are a process. It's not a series of just wins or losses or whatever. It's a journey of sort of achieving those things that we strive to achieve in life.
Absolutely, and I can't agree more with you because what they say is, yeah, it is the learning comes in the journey, and how many times do we forget that? Because we live in a world of instant gratification. We want things instantly. We want the results yesterday, not today even.
It's so true. It's so true. And I know like we have this like popcorn, we have this popcorn generation of like
Mm.
popcorn success where it's like I want to put it in and
Mm.
3 minutes later I want it to be done and ready to eat. And
Mm.
like, yeah, it's just life doesn't work that way. Anything
Mm.
that take like even Amazon, it took what, 20 years for Jeff Bezos to build what we know today as
Mm.
Amazon. These things just take time. Just
Absolutely.
takes
And like you said in Simon Cowell's um, quote, it is the work that goes on behind the scenes, and they're
yeah.
the most fun, fulfilling. You don't realize at the time, but when you look back, when you've achieved what you're gonna, yeah, and the next step.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing as human beings, right? We always are like, oh, I can't wait till I get to
Mm.
X. And then once you get to X, now you're like, oh, now I can't wait to get to Z, or whatever. That's backwards, but you know what I mean. It's like we're
Mhm.
always like
Mm.
looking forward to the next thing, and then we miss life along the
Mm.
way. It's like
Absolutely.
we're not enjoying the small moments, and those are the
Mm.
most precious, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're currently in pre-production on a film and developing a TV series. How do these projects align with your mission and what impact do they hope you'll make?
Yeah, absolutely. I am currently working on a film entitled With Love Me and
Mm.
a television series entitled Brownsville Redemption. And both of these projects I'm extremely passionate about because they're both very impact driven. So for me, my art, my creativity is rooted in social impact. It always has been and always will be. And even in those early years when I was doing like very sort of commercial work, I always deep down had this desire to create work that moved the needle, that provoked thought, that
Yeah.
affect change. And now that I'm writing and directing my own projects, I'm very, very excited about instilling that in my work from the onset. So my film project is very much rooted in the themes of self love, self worth, self
Hmm.
realization. And my Brownsville Redemption television series is rooted in equity and access, sort of, the haves and the have nots, if you will. My art and my projects are an extension of who I am as a person. They're an extension of the impact that I hope to make in the world, and it's all about building community and helping others, really. And so for me, I'm blessed and very grateful to be able to do that through the projects that I write and direct. and really use that as a tool for change.
Absolutely love that. Beautiful.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'll look out for it once it's done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh. So, how do you help brands and companies elevate their messages and amplify their impact? Because this day and age, there's always something or another new coming up every single second. And,
Yes,
in the marketplace, in whatever field you want to go into, how do you stand out?
yes, yes, exactly. It's so true. I think brands and companies are competing with each other
Mhm,
constantly, and in a way, individuals as well, which I don't necessarily subscribe to this competition narrative. But
mhm,
when I work with brands and companies, I love to lean in on their impact, like
mhm,
amplifying their impact. And thankfully, there's been a wave now, there's been a new turn in the way that companies approach
mhm,
their service, if you will, because they are in service of their of the consumers. But I love to pull that out. I love to focus on how are they making an impact in the world? What are
mhm,
they doing? How are their products making an impact? How are their services making an impact? Are they on the right side of history? And then amplifying that and leaning in more. And if they're not doing it in a way or to the fullest capacity that they can do that, I like to go in and sort of bring in this notion, like get very creative and say, okay, how can we, in a beautiful and cinematic way, tell your story to the greatest capacity and the greatest fulfillment, that will really expand not only their bottom line but also expand the impact that they can make in the world.
absolutely. And just to kind of my understanding this day and age, it's not cutthroat anymore, it's heart centered. You have to come from heart centered now. That's what people want. The olden days are gone now.
100%. It's so
Mm,
true. And it's so
mm,
beautiful. I'm so glad that we finally made this shift into a more heart-centered
mm,
approach to the way companies run their business, the way
mm,
individuals run their business, etc. And it's a better way to live, right? Because I think you don't have to choose. I don't think you have to either choose doing the right thing or making a profit. You can do the right thing and make a profit. And in fact, if you
mm,
do the right thing, you'll probably make more of a profit because people will respond to that in a
absolutely.
very beautiful way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more there. Absolutely. What would you say to someone who knows they're meant for more but feels stuck in fear or doubt?
Those who are feeling stuck or feeling afraid or feeling like they don't know where their life is going,
Mm,
um, first of all, my heart is with you because I've been there. I
mm,
know what it feels like to not sort of know what's next or not know what the next step is, or you've been trying something for a while and it's not working. And again, I think it goes back to our theme earlier where we say, first you have to stop and you have to give yourself a moment to breathe and think and realize what's not working in order to make adjustments and change things so that they can begin to work. And that is very difficult to do. Like when you're
mm,
spiraling or feeling sort of out of control, it's hard to really kind of calm yourself and find your center and find a peaceful moment in the chaos, like the calm in the storm, if you will, because
mm,
our brains are designed in such a certain way that if we can't breathe and calm and just settle, we'll just constantly be in a state of chaos. And you cannot move forward in a state of chaos. You cannot evolve. You cannot grow. You cannot change. You cannot adapt in a state of chaos. And most importantly, you cannot find the opportunities that may very well be
mm.
right in front of you. in a state of chaos. So try and just pause for a moment so that you can actually see what's going on around you. And hopefully, through journaling, through creativity, find a way forward that is going to change things for the better.
That's fantastic. Absolutely love that. Absolutely. And it is, no matter what, you can't be on fast forward all the time or you'll burn out. You have to slow down. And I think this day and age, you've got to think more of your health. You know, everything you do is mind, body, and spirit, like the saying goes. It's not just about doing the work and then you'll rest afterwards. You've got to put all of yourself into it.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And I really, really resonate with that mind, body, and soul and
Mm-hmm.
spirit and taking care of yourself in every way, not
Mm-hmm.
just working all the time, not just, you know, playing all the time, but like really just kind of having a very balanced approach to life. And look, it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be moments where things are out of balance and where one avenue of life is getting more attention than another. But if you can always sort of just try to find your way back to that mind, body, soul balance, it'll only serve you in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant. If there was one key takeaway, Shani, you want every listener to walk away with today, what would that be?
The one key takeaway I'd love for everyone to sort of stay with or contemplate after this podcast listen is stillness. I think we really touched on stillness today in such a beautiful way. And, you know, maybe building in time to be still. Maybe the one step you can do for yourself is look at your calendar over the next week and figure out when you can carve out 30 minutes just
Mm,
for yourself to sit with yourself, to contemplate your life, where you are, how's it going, what things do you want to shift, what things do you want to continue, what things do you want to add, what things do you want to take away, and try to build that into your schedule. 30 minutes a week, that can evolve to an hour a week to 30 minutes a day. I mean, and on your own pace, there's no pressure. It's not about being stressed out over this exercise, but finding stillness in your life in a consistent way will change your life in the long haul.
excellent. Absolutely love that. So,
Mhm.
where can the listeners find you online, Shani?
I love building community. So my communities live on Instagram first and foremost. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok, for those of you who love TikTok. And then I'm also on LinkedIn for those of you who resonate more with the LinkedIn platform.
And I will be putting all your links in the show notes. So please do go ahead and connect with Shani. Thank you for
Amazing.
sharing your insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today. And by doing so, you have helped so many others and made a difference. I'd really like to acknowledge you for that, Shani Pride.
Oh, thank you, Anita. I'd like to acknowledge you for creating this space. It's such a beautiful, beautiful podcast, and it's helping so many people. And I've been honored to be a part of it and have this conversation with you. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. So, we are all about Create the Courage to Be Fearless podcast. So, what is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage is taking one step, even in extreme adversity. So, wherever you are, whatever challenges you're facing, if you can take one small step forward, and today we talked about that step being stillness for 30 minutes, you know, one step forward, that to me is being very courageous, very, very, very courageous.